Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about the signs that your relationship is heading for a breakup, regardless of attachment style. And if this is the case, I'm going to mention slightly towards the end what you can do. And most of it is just having a conversation or talking to each other about if you guys want to set up a game plan to adjust these things. And the reason why it's going to be particularly vague with that one is because every single person has a different reason of the breakup. And so the main thing you will need to do is have a conversation. We will talk about that towards the end of this video, but it's not going to be much. It's going to be quite brief because I don't know why you guys are heading in that situation. But regardless of attachment style, these things tend to show up. And the very first one actually is appreciation and kindness has faded. And I want to be clear about this, okay? Faded is dependent on the relationship. If you guys never had much appreciation, that's not a sign you're heading for a breakup. That's not, it's only if you see a decrease, okay? And a decrease for a significant period of time, not just for a week because someone had a bad day, not even for a couple weeks because someone has stress at work. I'm talking about like for weeks, for months, maybe even years, that you notice the appreciation and kindness has faded. And for this one, try it. Try to be more appreciative and more kind. That can really help, right? That's very helpful, actually, to be honest. That might offset this almost entirely, depending on how much the other person intakes it, but they might be wanting that as well. And it's okay to just for you to be the one to give it a shot. The next one is effort to improve the relationship disappears. And as I'd mentioned, if there wasn't much effort to begin with, this one's not gonna really help, but it's mainly whatever effort that they had, you no longer see that as there anymore. And so it's decreasing slowly over time, okay? And as I'd mentioned, it's not going to be like a couple weeks. It's going to be probably a couple months to a couple years. And if this is the case, a conversation might be the only one to really point this out and, tread lightly about this. Even something along the lines of, I notice that neither of us are fighting for the relationship the way we used to. How can we adjust this? Or I'm concerned about this. Can we talk about this? That's a good example, okay? The next one is that the one person, or both actually, are starting to make major plans independently. And the reason why I said starting is because if they were always like that, that's not necessarily a sign, but it's still not a good thing. And I'm going to talk about what that looks like. If they're mentioning in 2 or 3 years that they plan on leaving the country and moving to Spain, for example, and they have no mention of how you guys will do long distance, what you can do is you can say, okay, if you move to Spain, what happens to our relationship? Can I come with you? Or are we going to be long distance for a little bit? What are your perspectives, right? And if they can answer that to some extent, okay, then it's not really breakup. It's not heading towards a breakup. They have certain plans. However, if they say something along the lines of, oh, we'll see when we get there, okay, maybe it's vague, but it doesn't mean a breakup. Or they might say, well, let's see if we make it that far, or something along those lines. That might be a little bit more leaning towards a breakup, right? The next one is about arguments, okay? And now this one is kind of tricky because people who struggle with anger do this and it's not about breakups, or if a person has borderline, or if a person has fearful avoidant attachment. So be mindful of this one. But if they've never done this and now they're starting to do this, this needs to have a conversation. I would say even point it out during it, okay? If the argument has phrases that include, maybe we should just break up, or I'm done with this. And at that point, you can select that moment to actually say, is that really what you want? Or are you just angry? Because I'm having this discussion with you because I feel like we're worth fighting for. Do you not feel that way? And then that can lower their defenses because you want to say it in a calm and respectful way so their defenses can be lowered. Because if they're saying that just because they're really risen and angry, it's an anger issue, not genuine, okay? And if you know your significant other has anger issues, don't take it too personally. It's very, very hard. And why I'm bringing up anger issues is because some of you guys know this. A lot of my patients have anger issues. I specialize in anger management. And so I see this a lot and it means nothing. Like I know it does not mean anything because I have some couples that I've worked with for a couple of years and I remember they had stopped doing this, but in the beginning they would mention this and they would say, oh, well, I was just saying that to my wife because I'm angry, which is kind of abusive. But she was so used to that. She's like, oh yeah, when he's angry, he just says, I mean, I see this all the time, right? She might say something like, when he's angry, he'll just say whatever he wants. And then later we just forget about it. But eventually it erodes and gets to her. And then she might be the one who breaks up. And so regardless, these things should not be occurring. But if you feel like your partner is saying it because they're angry, I would actually really, I would hope that you would have a conversation about their anger and what they can do about it. Because likely what's happening is they're using unhealthy coping skills. It could be anything, drinking, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying those things, this is just informational, right? But that could be why their anger is, escalating so high, or they're having work stress, whatever it is. But you want to stop them and say, do you really mean this? Because it's really important, okay? The next one is sarcasm, eye rolling, or disrespect appears much more often and more frequent, okay? And some people do this and it's not healthy, but they may have picked it up. I had some patients that picked it up when they were young from like TV shows where they thought that this was okay to talk like to a partner. And I don't know any TV shows that do that, but I don't really watch TV that much. But I'm aware that these things can happen without necessarily meaning it like that. But in general, if you feel like this is frequent in your relationship and it's getting more and more frequent, this might be a time to have some sort of conversation, okay? And with sarcasm, eye rolling, or any disrespect, it is okay to call them out when they're doing it and mention, I don't appreciate the sarcasm, right? Or you can mention, did you just roll your eyes at me? I really hope you didn't do that, because that really bothers me and disrespects me. No matter what, in this relationship, we're a team. And I think it's really important to recall and emphasize that you guys are a team and you guys are on the same side. That can really help, because sometimes what happens is relationships head towards a breakup because two people feel like they're not being understood by one another. And it's really, really important, okay? And the last one, before we actually talk about what can be beneficial, is spending time together feels like an obligation. And this one can be particularly tricky because there are moments in marriages where you will feel like this, and it's not that it's heading towards a breakup, it's just there's so many other things in life that's going on. And so with all of these things, it's really important to take everything I say with a grain of salt. Only if you see all of these and then some can you really suspect, okay, the relationship is heading for a breakup. But let's say you do conclude that you believe the relationship is heading for a breakup. What can you do? Add some more of that appreciation and kindness back in. Take time to go out and do things together. Do activities that make the other person feel loved and happy and appreciated. Do certain things together that stimulate other parts of yourself. Play chess together. Play video games together. Play cards, whatever it is. Play sports even if it's team building. Like, let's say you guys are playing basketball with a team, right? You still are playing together. That is still a good idea. Have a picnic. These are great ways to create bonding and memories so that the nostalgia can be recalled during difficult times, which it can, create a buffer for the relationship. And there's research on that, right? Nostalgia creates a buffer for negative aspects in a relationship, which can actually really safeguard against breakups. And in general, the most important point, which I had mentioned, it is important at some point to have a conversation about this, because at the end of the day, the reason why a lot of this happens is lack of communication. And so adding communication can be very helpful. Let's summarize and we'll wrap it up. Appreciation and kindness has faded. The effort to improve the relationship has disappeared. One or more individuals are planning a life decision that is pretty much entirely independent. Arguments does imply breakup, like maybe we should break up, I'm done with this. Sarcasm, eye rolling, disrespect is more often, and time spent together feels like an obligation. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.